Right, thanks very much for coming everybody. It really means a lot to me that everybody's here, it really does. And the idea of these days, shows, whatever you want to call them, two things. One, obviously to promote fulker bait, that's the number one thing. But the most important thing is try and teach people different ways of fishing. You might not learn a thing from today, but if you go away and you learn one, I'll be more than happy. I'll be as happy as Larry if you learn one thing from me, because that's all I'm trying to do is teach people about fishing and how not simple it is, because it's not simple, but it's amazing. You'll see from today I've got certain routines that I do when I cast, how I fill the feeder and everything like that. And the idea of having these routines is so you get into them and you don't forget them. Like you probably heard me talk to Lindholme there about pole, line it up, feed, 10 seconds, things like that. Try and get into a routine so you don't forget, because you've got 4 or 5 things in a setup and you get one wrong, your presentation is ruined. And fishing is all about presentation. It's all about presentation. There's quite a few things in fishing. 10% I believe is preparation at home, where you can tie your hooks, do your reels, get everything ready, get your rods ready nowadays and everything like that. 20% is preparation here, where you're set and you're comfortable and you get everything right. But the most important thing in fishing, 70% of fishing, is swim management. Because when we come here, I can teach anybody to tie hooks and everything like that, to get ready at the peg. What I can't teach them is swim management. It's almost impossible, because every venue is different. And that's where the best anglers come in, because they understand where feeding fish are, not fish, feeding fish. I'm only interested in feeding fish. You might see fish all over the place, like there, the top in there, but they might not be feeding. I'm not interested in them. And the secret is find the feeding fish and the depth that they want to feed at. That is critical, the depth they want to feed at, because fish feed at a certain depth. And the perfect example, it's just a quick example, when I used to go to Wakefield a few years ago, the feeding depth was 4 foot. So in the summer, the feeding depth was 4 foot. And all we used to do, set us floats at 4 foot, ship it out, 5 foot, it didn't matter whether it were there or out there, that's where the feeding fish fed. And the difference is, when you find the correct depth, is when your float goes under or your tip goes round, it's on. It's a bite. When you're at the wrong depth, you foul hook them, you miss them, you all kinds of things like that. So that's the key to swim management. You've got to find where the feeding fish are going to be. And that's what this is all about, really. So, just to show you some new products, every fishery you go to is a bit different. When we come here, we've got to use Lindholme pellets. We have to use theirs, which is fair enough, like most fisheries. Most places we go to, you have to buy pellets, so it's not, I never find it's a problem. But I prepare these differently. What we do now at Fulker, we've got squeeze ready bags. We've got 2 sizes. They just come out today, 2 sizes like that. You can take them straight out of the bag, put them on the feeder, and it's simple. That's all you have to do. If you take them out of the bag, everybody wants the pellets a little bit different. The salting sensate, there's no preservatives in them or anything like that. You can take them straight out of the bag and use them. The idea, when I go fishing now, I just have 3 or 4 of these in my bag, and I just open them when I need them. Obviously I can't when I come to these places, but like when I go up river or places like that, right, I just carry them about with me. When I need them, I just open them up and use them, and you can use them straight out of the bag. You've got your squeeze ready ground baits. We've got 2 ground baits. I don't know what there is about this one. This method one, there's something in that. I keep telling Dave, when you throw it in, fish swirl on it. I don't know what it is, but there's something in that one. But I can use that one here, and I will use that one here. But the idea of squeeze ready, it's ready to go straight on the feeder. So basically, if I get a tub, and open it up like that, I can pick that up, and that goes straight on feeder. 2 squeezers, and you can see that goes to the bottom. It's ready. And listen, everybody's different. Some people might say, "Oh, it's a bit dry for me." Well, wet it. But when you wet it, don't tip water in. Just wet your hand like that and do that. and it just gets that little bit more moisture on it if you want it a bit more. And you see straight away then it's gone even stickier. But there is something about that ground bait. I don't know what it is, but there is. See what I do, biggest question I get asked, is it ground bait or is it pellets? And I don't know. It's about the fish, not me. I only want to put on what the fish want. So sometimes it's ground bait, sometimes it's pellets. It's impossible to answer because every fishery is different. And sometimes you have to do both. For example, we went down last week, down London, and I caught most of my fish on, I just opened a bag of squeeze ready method, squeeze ready pellets, like that. And that were best mix. That was the best one at lot that. Every time we went in, I come back with a 10 pounder. And look, it's all done. Chuck it in. And that's straight out at bag. I've just got them out of my thing. So there's different ways that you can do ground bait, pellets and everything like that. But, of course, we come to a fishery where it's fishery only pellets. So, which is fair enough. We're all different and I don't mind pellets from here because they're a nice pellet. So, when you get a bag of pellets, the first thing I do is this. When I find them, what have I done with them? Somebody nicked them already. Oh, it's alright. You'll all be as old as me one day. Now, the first thing I do, I look at that. I look at the colour. The colour is really important because it tells me how much water I can put in. Now, they've always been a good pellet here. They're a great pellet because they're dark. But some places you go, they have cheap ones and they're really pale and white. So why is the colour different? Well, it's about how much water goes in. It's about how much water goes in with that. Like them, they're dark, you can put as much as you want in that. You can soak them for nearly as much as you want. You probably won't spoil them. For example, there, I mean, I put quite a bit of water in them. They're all done and soaked up. But if they're a pale one, if they're nearly white, you've got to be really, really careful. If you soak them for more than 2 minutes, I promise you, they'll just crumble and break up because there's no oil in them. There's lots of oil in that. They're a good pellet. And so first thing to do is look at them. Then when you get them out, all I do, I've got a measuring thing now. It's like, I think it's 3 to 1. So if I've got 3 pellets, 3 pints of pellets, I'll put a pint of water in, mix them up. Remember, you can always add it, but you can't take it out if they go too much. And I mix them up. So it's like a 3 to 1. So them just normal pellets like that. But I like to be different. And anybody that's seen my YouTube videos, you'll probably know what I'm going to do now. And one of the things I were quite fussy at was, we're obsessed with putting different colour pellets on. Yellow ones, brown ones, pink ones, red ones. So why shouldn't you feed bait that colour? If they're actually picking a colour out, why shouldn't you feed a colour? And it was something that I got a little bit obsessed with because I thought, and I do believe it makes a massive difference. And I believe it makes a difference because I think, well, because you can go on even these waters round here, and each lake will want a different colour. Like yellow. Yellow's a big colour here, but you go to other places, it might be pink. So if they're not picking the brown pellets out, they might be attracted to the colour that they want. And I think it makes a massive difference. I really, really do. So what I do now, I make some different coloured ones. And it don't matter whether you soak them overnight, but the easiest way is just to put some in a tub. And let's say we're going to do red, because you'll be able to see red. And I use these Sensei bait dyes. You just put a bit on like that. Get a lid. Put it on. And you can see that they're going red already. And I've only just put it on. I usually do it overnight. I usually soak them overnight. I put it in the water. But it don't make a massive difference. But it's just, especially in the winter, that's what I like to do. And you can see now that they're going red. And they'll all go a different colour. So I can have a mixture of what I want. But I really, really believe in my head, and I'll tell you now, fishing is about in the head that it makes a massive difference. People say it don't, well, that's their choice. We're all different. We're all different people. We all think differently. some people are more fussy than I am. I'm not a fussy fisherman. You know, either works or it don't in my book. I ain't got what I call fairies in my head. You know, it either works or it don't. But I've done that instantly. But it also, it's got that lovely sensate flavour which attracts the fish. So, what I like to do, I like to have different colours. And then what I do with that, I'm going to do a green one and then you can see. Like I know anglers that come on here use them green. They like to use them green. But I like a mixture because I'm a yellow man. I don't know why. Probably because I think the fish on here prefer more yellow than any other colours. So you can see, because as I get more into my demonstration, you'll see that there's one thing I'm absolutely obsessed with. Like obsessed, is the feeder. The number one thing is the preparation of the feeder. And I'll talk about whether it's a method, hybrid or whatever later. But that is the number one thing, because that's what attracts the fish. And now you can see I've got green ones, yellow ones and red ones in a matter of minutes already. So all I'm going to do now is, running out of tubs already, is if I put them there, I can't use them. Aaron will shoot me. Don't upset Aaron, do I? So all I will do when I'm going to be fishing, I'm going to put some normal pellets in like that. Then I'm going to get a few red, a few different colours like that. And if you like a colour more than others, then just put more of that colour in. And you can see now that you've got different colours scattered about with your natural ones like that. Right. Now for me, I like that. One of the reasons that got me on this was we were in Ireland one day. Now I know it's not commercial fishing, and we use, what do they call that? We all bits in. Pescatino. And there's an orange one and a red one, right? And we used to put pescatino and mix it up, and we were catching fish and they were spewing it up. They were actually spewing this stuff up. And we actually one day somebody says, I've caught them on orange today. Who's put orange in? And we were like, well, I don't know, I've just put any orange in. And we couldn't work out what it was till we got red and orange and chilled it, put it together and it was orange. So they were eating both colours and they wanted it that much they were spewing it up. We couldn't catch them on anything else. Nothing else was spewed, but just this colour. So it told me that the fish are attracted to the colours, which brought me to this. And this is why I've done this. And if you look at all our fulker bait, it's 3 and 4 colours along. So I think it's really important, because trust me, I wouldn't have to do this if I went to a fishery and I could use our 2-in-1 bait, because I'd just put 2 mils in. I'd replace them pellets with 2 mils 2-in-1 bait. That's what I would mix in, because I know how much fish love our 2-in-1 micros. So I'd have my normal pellets with 2-in-1s. But because I come to a commercial fishery, I've got to dye their fisheries. But I think that looks quite sexy. I love fishing with things like that, because I think the fish are attracted to certain colours. I'm really sure of it, and I know it is because I know they spew it up, the colours that they actually want to do. But you can see how quick and how easy you can do it. You can either do it at home or you can do it on the bank. But when I come to a commercial, you don't get a lot of time between draw and getting to your peg. So basically, I always do it at home. It's all. How many on? Yeah. How many? Oh, you better. How many? 5. You better knock about. So basically, that's my setup. Now, like I said to you, you're trying to get fish in your peg. You're trying to attract them in your peg. So if I go on a match, if I go on an open match, I know there's only me got that. I know nobody else is doing that, and I'm quite happy about that. Because what happens is, when everybody starts doing it, you've got to find something else, because the fish get used to it. But while that's like that, and I've got it on me, I shouldn't be telling anybody really, because I think that makes a difference. Because the moment everybody starts putting it in, you'll have to find something else, because I think I've got an advantage. Might not have, but it don't matter, because my head says I have, and my head's right. I'm confident that it works. That I'm positive that works. So you can see now the combinations that I'm trying to find. If it's pellet only, it's that, And then if I think they want some ground bait, all I do, I just add ground bait into that. So basically, that's all that I do with my bait, my baits that's going to be on the feeder. Now, how important is it? It's massive, and it's massive simply because the fish are coming to that feeder. The fish are attracted. If the fish don't come to that feeder, you ain't going to catch one. You ain't going to catch one if they're not attracted to that feeder. So I spend ages and ages learning, watching, looking at people just to find out what the fish want. And at the moment, them's the two mixes I think that I'm on at this moment in time. But you can see how simple and easy they are to prepare. It's not difficult. So I've got my bait that's going to go on my feeder. I've got that, and I've got my squeeze ready method mix in case I want to use ground bait. So I've done my bait, I'm all ready, I'm at home. What about everything else? Right, so first thing is, we're going to talk about is my setup. You probably heard me talked at Lindholme there. I'm right-handed, so everything, all my bait's on my left, all my tattler's on my right. You can see that my bank rest is to my right. Most people have it in front of them. I'm going to go into that in a bit. I don't quite get that, but you know, it's only my way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And I like two rests, keep net in front of me. Landing net will be on top of the thing when I start fishing. And everything is at hand, so I ain't got to get off my box and move about and everything like that. We did have a bit of a mishap earlier. I've only had one cast and there's some line coming down. And I've set up twice already, so I've had to move my spot. I was going to chuck to that point, but there's some line in water and we've already lost two feeders on it, so I've had to change. So let's talk about equipment. So you go in feeder fishing, you go in on a commercial, and I have our base rods on distances, and it don't matter which type of fishing that I'm going to do. So if I want to, a lot of people like 9-foot rods. I don't. I like 10-foot. Why? It just feels more comfortable to me. I think 9 foot's too short. That's only my opinion. So I base mine on 10 foot. So if I'm fishing up to 30 metres, it'll be 10. 30 to 40, it'll be 11. 40 and onwards, it'll probably be a 12. Maybe 45, it'll be a 12 foot. So I base my rods on the distance that I'm fishing. So when I come places like this where I'm probably never going to cast 30 yard, then it'll always be 10 foots. And I have 10-foot rods. I'm happy with them. I set everything up, whether it's bomb, whether it's feeder or whatever, I set them up 10-foot rod. And I like 10-foot rods. I like medium to soft action for this style of fishing. That's the Horizon. It's more a carp rod than it is an F1 rod, because one of the things I'm basing things on now is what am I fishing for? Well, when I come to a commercial, I'm fishing for carp and F1s. Some places it's just carp. If it's just carp, I just use them. And this new range I'm bringing out called Marvellous, there's two carp rods. There's a light carp and a normal carp. And the idea of that is if you're just normal carp fishing, you'll just put that one on. But when you're fishing for F1s and you want something a bit softer, the light carp will be better for it. Because when I come here, I'm fishing for F1s and carp. I'm fishing for both. When I go up road, I'm only fishing for carp. When I go to Allcroft, it's just carp. So I don't need a softer rod. I just want a carp rod. I want a different action. So in this new range for next year, there'll be two rods. Softer one and for F1 and carp, or smaller hooks, and there'll just be a normal carp rod. So everything is based around the fish that the type of fish that I'm going to be fishing for. But on here, 10-foot rods. The reels are 4,000 size, which is not really important. Reels are not massively important, apart from I like to wind against the fish, which I'll explain when I start fishing. The line, I use 0.26, which is £11. It's 0.26, and it's just Sublime line, 0.26. It lasts me all year. I won't change that unless I keep chucking in that tree until next April. I put it on April, change it next April. Right. When you're commercial fishing, you've got snags, you've got trees, you've got roots, you've got reeds, and you've got landing nets. Because what people don't realise, how much damage landing nets do. Right. So when you get that landing net, and you've got like a short hook length in, what happens is, it's bouncing about, it rubs on that, it's doing that on that, and that's where it breaks your line. So every time you've been fishing, you need to take a metre line off and redo it, because it's the landing nets that causes all the rubbing, because it's bouncing about on that and your main line is rubbing on that. So although they're a great thing, they can damage your line. So every time you've been fishing, just knock a metre off, because it'll be damaged just above the feeder because it's rubbing on that landing net. So that's why I use quite strong line, and trust me, it makes no difference to fish, no difference whatsoever. So the next thing is feeders. Right, now there's different types of feeders on the commercial. You've got a method feeder, which is that, and you've got a hybrid feeder, which is that one. And I'm going to show you how to fill both and how to use both. First of all, the method. Free running or fixed. Well, in this area, nearly everywhere we go, it's got to be free running, nearly everywhere. And whenever I go, I prefer free running anyway. I don't get elastic, although I know it sometimes gets fishing quicker, but I don't like anything on that line that might tangle. I spoke to a good angler 2 years ago, and he says he broke twice in a match, his elastic broke. And he says, I've just bought them out at shop. And I went, I can't believe what you've just told me. And then the week after he did it again, it broke. He bought an elasticated feeder, a good angler this lad, and I went, I can't believe what you just told me. I says, you broke twice and you still put one back on. I can't believe you did it. And he went, yeah, but it's better. I went, oh, it's great, isn't it? You've got 2 fish now with elastic swimming around with them. You broke. I said, but you've got, reason why I don't like it is it's got too many knots in. I've only got 1 knot on the best little invention ever, the core and quick change bead. That's the best little invention ever made, in my opinion. It's like a ball, so it bounces on it, cushions it like that. And also, if you've not used it, I'll just show you. It comes apart in 2 parts, like that. And what happens is there's like a hook on that, so you get your loop of your hook, and you put it through like that, put it on, and put the ball over that. It is, for me, best little invention ever. And then your feeder runs onto it. I don't see anything it's just simple, it's just effective, and when you get a bite, the bite will go around like that. And I just don't get why people want anything else on the line bar that, but we're all different. So that's the method feeder. You've got the hybrid feeder. Now you feed and fish a hybrid feeder. So when do a hybrid feeder, all that is, that has actually got holes in. I normally glue them in. I've picked that one up and it's not, but I normally glue them holes in. Now why do I glue the holes in? Is because when it's going through the water, I don't want any pressure pushing the pellets off. I want it to get to the bottom before it breaks up. I don't want to risk it any way whatsoever. Only my way. I've only just noticed that. Bad mistake, that Pickering. So them's the 2 ways that most people are going to fish. A hybrid, the easiest way is the hybrid feeder. That's the easiest way to do it. So what tells me which feeder I'm going to use? Am I a method or a hybrid? It's the fish, really. In the summer, probably going to be on a method because it breaks up quicker. It gets more baiting. Whereas the hybrid takes longer to break up. So it's probably better as a winter thing when you're not catching as many fish. But in the summer, when you want some bait being there, you can't beat the method because it breaks up, it's more open, it breaks up, the fish are into it, and they'll pick your hook bait pretty quick. So all I'm going to do now is show you how I fill them. Now then, so the method. Now this, what I'm going to show you now, is the most important thing. This is the number one. You can have fancy rods, fancy lines, fancy reels, fancy this, fancy that. If you don't do this right, you might as well not bother going fishing. This is what it's all about. So the first thing is, there's one little routine, which I'll show you when I'm fishing. So I get my hook bait and I put my hook bait in, like that. And that's a spike. Now I like sinkers. These are what I use. sinkers. It says 11mm on it, but they're actually 6mm sinkers. And I like sinkers. You can buy them in wafters, you can get pop-ups, which means that they're going to pop up off the bottom. I don't get that, right? In my head, that's not right. It's not natural, that. I want something sat on that pile of pellets, so I put a sinker on. And most times, unless the fish are off the bottom and they tell me, I'll always have a sinker on. And one of the reasons, one of the things to believe, lots of people, and probably most of you are here, if not all of you, you'll watch YouTube and everything like that, and I listen to people and I go, that's a load of rubbish, that. Right, because I watched one and they were telling me that he uses a pop-up. And I'm like, all right, that's fair enough, on a 10 hook. Now that's not popping up on a 10 hook. So they use the size of the hook to keep the bait on the feeder. That's what they do. That's why they use the size 10 hook. And they have a little bowl of water at the side that they never show you. And when they put the hook in the bait, they drop that in to see if it sinks or it floats. And if it floats, they put a different one on. They want it to be on top of the feeder. And I've gone, that's brilliant, that. They've got everybody in England sat with a bait up in air and theirs is on feeder. And I went, that's quite cute, that. And it's about, because they had a great big hook on, the hook were holding it onto the feeder. And I went, yeah, they might be using a pop-up, but they're not actually popping it up. So you've got to be really careful. So my idea is, I want that lump of bait there with my hook bait. You wouldn't go out with a pole, what you're doing there, put your pole pot in that with your bait and then go a foot to the side. You just wouldn't do that. You'd put your hook bait in with that bait that you're putting in. That's the idea. The fish come in, taking it, and hopefully they pick yours up. They won't take it a foot away. No chance. And if you move your feeder like that and all your bait's there, with your hook bait there, they'll not pick that up. Not a chance. They come in and suck the lot up. That's what they do. Hence, don't move the feeder. So this is what I do. With Method, you get a lovely mould. At one time, we didn't have these moulds. They're the worst thing that's ever come out.
I can't get it to come out.
But they're also, I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to cure that for you in a minute, right? Because that's part of me thing, right? But they are the best thing that's ever come out. They are awesome. But for people like me that were brought up and learnt in the Andy Finlay School of Feeder Fishing, who could do it with their hands, and it were a work of art, let's let everybody catch you up. So, but they are a great equipment. So basically, what I do, most people do that. They put that in first, and they put it in the middle, they fill it up, like that, and they have it on top. For me, it's the worst thing that can happen, that, because that can come off so easy. And I think when you go like that, it's the water, I think that comes off sometimes. And when that's away from that, you don't catch one. However, when it's really shallow, it can be better. But, so I don't want any chances. I don't want to see anything come off that for 10-15 seconds when it's at the bottom. So all I do, I put a third in like that, look, and then I put the hook bait in the middle, like that, put it in the middle where you want it, overfill it, press it, release it. I can't see it. Look at that. That ain't going to break up until it's on the bottom, and I just get a little press like that. That to me is perfect, because I've got that's the perfect thing. You've got different colours in it. I mean, it just looks great, and look, you can't pull it out, so it ain't going to. I'm pulling that as hard as out. That ain't going to come out until it all silts and falls down the side, and it'll be sat up middle. Fish come in, pick it up. Bob's your uncle, you've got one. I mean, I've had to pull that literally out. Right, I'm going to answer your question now. So sometimes this is what happens to you, right? Let me just.
It's mainly with ground bait, not pellets.
Well, I'm going to explain it to you. Right? Put it in there. What it means is it goes like that sometimes, like that. Oh, it's done it. But it sticks it mould. Some stick it mould and some don't. It's happened to everybody here. Right? It's happened to me loads of times. If you ever get that, whether it's ground bait or whether it's pellets, all you do, I've used it all now, you have a bit of dry ground bait or one of these, right? Because so like it's what it is, you overwet your bait. That's all that it is. You get a pinch like that, put it in the bottom like that, just a pinch in bottom, put that on, pinch a dry ground bait, or it's another reason for carrying these squeeze ready bags. Put that on. Now this does two things. One, it'll never stick. It'll never ever stick, ever. But also you've got a different flavour on the top. So you can actually, if you want, put different flavours on top of that as well. So you've got a different thing coming off as well when it goes in. So always just get a bit of ground bait. So like if you carry a bag of squeeze ready, you can pinch it, but it's only because your bait's too wet. And it sticks in the mould. And that is the best way. For me, that's the best way. There's different other ways. If you want to put more bait in, you can just put more bait in like that. Just put that on, what we call double skin, so you can make as much as you want. But once you get your pellets right, I mean, there's a lot of pellets in that now, but that'll break up. I will think that'll break up in 30 seconds to a minute when it hits the bottom. That is what you want. That is perfect, I think. So when do I use that? Probably this time of year when I want to get more bait in. But sometimes, and when I'm sat longer, when winter's coming now, we're probably not going to use a method. So when it gets cold, they don't want as much bait, it needs to be tighter, it's more about fish location than it is feeding the fish and attracting them. This time of year, they'll swim to your bait. You know, if you watch these lads now, when they chuck in, they'll be getting fish at the bait straight away. You'll see that when we start fishing. So what we use a hybrid. These are the easiest, easier than a pellet. So first of all, again, you put your hook bait on. Put your hook bait on like that. And then what you do, you get your hybrid, and I just overfill it like that. And no mould, just get palm of your hand, press it in like that. Then you get your hook bait, and what I do, I put the hook, I get hold of the hook like that, and I press it into the pellets, like that. Because like I said to you, I'm obsessed with getting it before it starts breaking up. And now my hook's in the pellets. Then what I do, without moving that hook, I get the hook bait and I put it where I want it, which is smack in the middle. And then I put some pellets on, a few, just cover them, just press, and I do that until I can't see the hook bait. And what I'm doing, I'm pressing it in like that. And that's as good as it gets. You can see that it's just over, it's not level with that, it's just popped up a bit. That'll break up, the water gets in there, and it'll pop up like that, and you'll see them falling down, and eventually the hook bait will be sat in the middle. Absolutely perfect weighting. And that's the easiest way. You will always get that to the bottom before it breaks up. But I use this when I'm fishing for less fish, not as many bites, and in the winter when it's more about location fish, because in winter they don't want to be fed. They'll come and eat something, but they don't want a load of bait. You put a load of bait on, they just back off straight away and away. So them's the two ways that you need to do. So, one thing I will mention is the size of the feeder. Now then, to me this is really important. I see anglers using 15 gram, 20 gram. Me personally, I think they're too light. I don't think you need, I don't get why people want them light. I want the fish to hook itself on something, whether it's the feeder or the rod. I think that's really important. Nearly every feeder I use is 30 gram. That's an ounce, which is 28, 30 gram, and that's 30 gram. I feel everything better when it hits the rod, when you're casting in, and when you get a bite, I want the fish to hook itself on the feeder, or if not the rod. I don't know, I just don't get it. It's 15, 20 gram. They say, oh, it sounds nice when it goes in. I'm not bothered about that. Right? I want rod to go round. I'm not bothered what it sounds. Sometimes they come to it. They come to the noise. And that's the simple setup that I do. So it's not rocket science, it's not difficult. What you've got to do is learn. But that is the most important thing. And it doesn't matter what everything else you do, that is the most important thing. So there's three things that are really important. That's the number one by a million miles, the preparation of that. The number two then is how it hits the water. It's got to go plop, not splosh, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Right, and the third is you don't move the feeder, and there's a reason for that. Is if you move it there and all your bait's there, fish are going to be there, not there, so you don't move it. Them's the three things. You can have all your fancy rods, all your fancy reels, all this, all that, but if you don't do all them three things right, you won't get a bite. Right, now then, when I take people fishing, when I take them in individual coaching, the one common thing is they cannot cast. People can't cast in, they can't cast straight, and it's one of the easiest things to teach people. Right, but you've got to follow a few rules. And there'll be people here who'll be in that category now, 100%, if not everybody. Right, so what I'm going to show you is how to cast in correctly, so it hits the water correctly. For example, the first thing to do is, I'm going to cast, well I'm not going to cast here, it's cost me £4 already. Right, I'm going to cast it on ducks over there, in water again the edge. Well, behind them on the bank there's a post. Can you see the post between the trees? That's my target. So the first thing is, whatever target is, when I'm looking to cast somewhere, I always look for a target and I'll look for something that's in my eye line. Not something that I'm like that, where is it now? I want something that's in my eye line straight away, so I can see that post and I'm happy going towards that. The first thing you do, you aim and you put your body towards the target. That's the first thing. You can't cast straight facing that way. You've got to cast everything towards there. The second thing is then, between your feeder and your tip is 4 foot. And the simple reason is you're going to cast. Lots of people do that. But what happens is you flick it, and when you flick it, it goes all over the place. So the next thing is, so it's 4 foot, so you're actually going to cast it. You point your arm out, and it's an extension of your rod. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, reverse everything I'm talking about. I aim it at my target like that, and I bring the feeder back past the rod, like that, and cast it. Now then, that's gone straight, but your right hand is your direction, your left hand is your power. So the further you want to go, your left hand comes on and pulls it through. So your left hand is your power. Now then, a lot of anglers do this. Right, that's how most people cast. But look at that feeder. Look at it. It's swinging. So when it's there, it'll go over there. And when it's there, it'll go over there. And sometimes you get lucky and it's in the middle and it goes straight. That's the biggest mistake that people make, is that. It's that at the back. So wherever you're going, that's what happens. So that's why you come back, pass your rod, like that, hand up, but cast it. And it can't go anywhere else but straight. All right, you might be 6 inches either way, but it can't go anywhere else. So, it's simple. Aim at the target. Your body, your shoulders and everything is facing the target. 4 foot of line. Stick your arm out. Bring it past the rod, like that, so it'll go in a straight line, hand on boat, cast. And it'll always go towards that target. It can't go anywhere else. And if you just sit there and practice, pass the rod, cast, it can't go anywhere else. It's impossible. Because all your body, it's almost robotic, in the fact is what you're doing. So if I sat like that, so if I want to change my position and I want to cast towards that post, look, I've changed my body. So it's always going to go towards that target. Because everything is almost robotic. Your body, the rod, your arm. the further you want, let me just take this line clip off. Right, so if I want to go further, my left hand comes into play then, because what happens is, they might get a shock in a minute. So I've got 4 foot, aim it, watch my left hand now, watch it, pulling it through, and it goes further. Right, so it's your left hand, so your right hand is your direction, your left hand is your power. But if you're facing your target and you bring the rod past bring your feeder past the rod, it can only go in a straight line. And them's the tips that you got to remember. Alignment of your body, alignment of the rod, arm out straight, extension of your arm, and that's almost like a pivot, like that, and then you go and pull it through. So that's how you get it straight. Now, anybody can learn how to do that. So now, once I've got that, next thing is, I've come to my peg and where I'm going to fish. Now I have a rule in summer, is normally, in the summer, you start long, finish short. In other words, you might finish under the island and finish in the side. But in the winter, it's different. You might start short, which might be halfway, and move as the fish back off. In the summer, start long, finish short. In the winter, start short, finish long. That's what I do. So the fact we're fishing in the summer, I need to clip up to that island now. And one of the lots of people not sure how to clip up. So all I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to clip up. So the first thing is, you cast it where you think, without going into trees. So a bit short, like that. Now I think that's 3 metres short. So I'm going to go 1, and I'm going to put 2 to start with, and I'm going to put on the line clip. And all you do is take your time. It's not a race, it's about doing it right. So now I'm on a clip. Cast it back. 1, 2. You just keep adding it on and put it on until you get what you're comfortable with. Because it's only a trial, because there's no bait on yet. Right, I reckon I'm at least 4 foot off now. So if I want to go close, I'm going to go to that eye which is 2 foot. And that's all that you do, it's just trial. But there's something I ain't showed you yet, which I'm going to show you in a bit. There you go. Right, so now that I reckon is a foot away. Right, now the fact is I don't want to start tight to it, I want to start a little bit away. So I always try and start about 1 foot, 18 inches away. And I'm quite happy with that. But what I want you to watch now is this, because now I've got my distance that I want to fish, because when I want to go closer, I'll just go 6 inches, 6 inches, like that, until I get it exactly where I want. You don't have to go like that and take chance. It's trial and error and simple. But now this is what it's all about. So I'm going to get my feeder, and there's 2 ways that I want it to hit water. Oh, this keeps wobbling. Is this. So when I cast it like that, right, if you ever hear that splash, you won't get a bite. Right, all that does is knock your bait off. All your bait's gone, and you won't get a bite. That's the splush. What you've got to do is make this sound. I ain't put a hook on yet, so now this is the sound that you're trying to get. See the difference in the 2? Anybody not understand the 2 sounds that you heard? Well, that one went plop, and that's because it landed with the lead first. So I'm going to show you again, because this is how important it is, and I'm going to show you how to get to that. So the wrong sound is this. That. No bait on there, right? Feed me peg as well, can't at the same time. I know. You're getting boring now. And this is what you got to do. Right, that's what you're looking for. You've got to get to that, and the only way you can get to that is by practice. Now what I want you to do, I want you to watch the rod. I don't want you to look at the feeder. Right, what I want you to watch is the rod and what I do. I'm casting. Right, who's going to tell me what I did? Brought the rod back and let the feeder cushion on the rod and bring it down. And that's how you get to that. So all you do is cast and instantly bring it back. And what happens, it just cushions on the rod tip and it goes plop. And what it does, it lands lead first, then goes to the bottom and then it breaks up. And the best way to learn is to just sit there with an empty feeder on until you get it right. And it's amazing how quick you can do it. Just like that, cast. Now then, what you can do, you can cast it too hard. And what I mean by that is, watch what happens here. If I cast that on that clip too hard like that, it still made that noise. Why? Because I've overcast it and it's sprung back. And it's sprung back and done that sound. So in my head, I'm thinking that's 22 metres. So I want to cast it 23. So always try and think you're going to cast it a yard or 2 yards past it, not 30, because it goes and then it springs back. And that's why you've got to get used to the distance when you cast. So in my head, I think that's about 22 metres. So if I'm going to cast it 23, and you can see, like that, back, plop. And that's all that you're trying to do. If you notice, nearly every cast were on line, because it were all coming past my rod, it were all going straight, but use the rod to go plop. That's really important. Now then, the modern day angler, he does this. He'll cast it out like that, and he'll put the rod like that. And he'll sit there, and I don't get that. I'll never apologise for this bit, I don't get that, right? You sit there with a rod, like that, and your bite goes like that up, and you go like that into your fish. And you, in my opinion, you've not got to bend it. There's a fish going now, and I haven't got to bend it rod. So if I'd have lied then. So if I've got a fish, I've got to try and pull it like that, and I don't get that. Honestly, I do not get that, because I don't understand why you want to do that. I want to get to the bend of the rod to play the fish, because if I get to the bend of the rod, I've got a bend of the rod, which means I can use lighter lines, bigger hooks. You can bet your bottom dollar most people that do this, when they cast and put the rod there, they've got bigger hooks and lines on, because they'll get broke all the time. They'll get broke all the time. What I like to do, you can call it old school, whatever you want, but I'm like this. I want to cast it, bring it back, hit the clip, that was a bit crap, and then what I want to do, I want to put the rod tip under like that, and you can see the line there. You see the line now? One's there, V's, and one's coming the other way. Just watch them. I'm not moving for them, I'm easing the line like that. If you get a bite, you'll feel it like that, you'll feel it, so it's not to worry about. And then when they've sank, like that, my line sank now, I can then put it on the rod rest. And I put it in that position like that, an inch off the water, and I put it down the side so that I've got more of an angle. I have it on 2 rod rests, and then when I get a bite, when it goes round like that, I can pick it up and catch my fish, and I'm into the bend of the rod. So whatever the fish wants to do, I can play the fish on the bend of the rod. And that to me is really important. I think that's so important. So basically that's my little setup. It's called hands-free. If I want to feed me other lines while it's out there, I can do. I can pick the catapult up, which I'll probably have a chat about in a bit, and I can feed. I'm looking at my rod tip all the time and I'm feeding. I call it hands-free because my hands are free. When I get a bite, I'm into the fish. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's the whole process of what I'm trying to do when I'm feeder fishing. So, let's see if it works. So all I'm going to do, put a hook length on, and I'm just going to go through the same routine. Like I said, everything's a routine. Now then, how many people have brought the tips winding in and casting out? Probably everybody? Right, everybody? Well, it'll never happen after today. I'm going to cure that for you. So, the first thing to do is when you're filling your feeder up, you swing it in so that when you catch your feeder, it's a foot less than the reel. You pull it so it's got a bend in it. You put the reel between your legs like that. Always keep that bend in the tip. You get your feeder in your right hand if you're right-handed. You put a few pellets in like that. Put your hook bait in the middle like that. Overfill it. Put the feeder on the top. Squeeze it. And we're ready. Still got a bend in my tip. It can't twist round because what most people do is they go like that and it spins round and then they take a wind in and it goes snap. We've all done it. So I get my feeder and like I said to you, this is the number one thing. Make sure it's right and I'm happy. I've still got bending in thing. So then when I let go, I can take one wind, bring it past the rod, cast it back out, clip. Plop. Lovely sound. Put it down. Sink my line. Take your time. The best angler I've ever seen at this is Andy Finley. He taught me how to do this. And he's the slowest angler on the planet. Well, all you do, you cast it in and you put it on rod rest. But when he lifts his net out, he's got most fish. He's the best. And then you just put it down and you're fishing. I like my line tight. I don't like a bend in the... There you go. There you go. Oh, got that one's on, look. How the hell want that on? But we took routine now. Foot less. I can't believe that one's on then. If you look at my tip, it never ever moves. It's always bent. Like that. Same routine. He's the slowest angler, but he's also the best. You just take your time like that. Face your target. Past the rod. Out. Plop. Rod tip under. Nice and slow. What I do when I'm sinking my line, I'm looking round and looking at other anglers, see if anybody's catching. Because if I get one, I'll feel it on that. And I'm looking round and watching other fishermen. And it don't matter how long it takes. And I put it on rod rest, 2 rests. I don't like a bend in it. I don't like that because I want to see liners. I think the fish feel it. But I want the line to be tight, but the rod to be slack. And I sit there then, and I do not pick it up until rod's going round. And I pick my catapult up if I want. I can fire pellets in. If I want to, feed another line, I can fire them in. I can pick my other things up, and I'm feeding my other line, and I ain't interfered with my rod one little bit. And I just sit there, and I'm as happy as I pick my flask up. I can have a cup of tea, hands free. Now you see, I'm getting liners now. You see the little indications. But I'm happy with that. Somebody's already spoke to me about they're not sure what to strike at. Well, one thing you don't strike until almost this is about the fish hooking themselves. It's about them hooking themselves. You don't pick up on line bites. And there's different kinds of line bites. And if I'm getting that, indications, taps, plucks, I'm really happy with that because that tells me fish are at the feeder. And if I get bites that go slow like that and go round and come back line bites, it tells me the fish are this side. Now you can see that now, look. Them's fish at my feeder now. What you've got to hope now is that they pick your hook bait up. They don't always pick it up. I might have the wrong colour bait on or the wrong bait. Like I've got an orange one at the moment. They might not want orange. And it makes that much difference. Really does. Now then, so all I'm doing, I mean, it might take a few minutes to settle down anyway because I've been chucking it in like a clown, to be honest with you, at times. So all I'm waiting for now is the fish. See that, liners? That's fish at the feeder. That's fish coming to the feeder. Hopefully, any minute now it'll get dragged in. But I see anglers striking at them. Well, it's the last thing you want to be doing. I'm going to have problems catching you up, aren't I, today? Hey. But I love liners. I look for them. I actually look for liners because that tells me what the fish are doing. So it might even be the fact is I'm getting the liners because we're seeing a lot top. It might be off these pellets. So when you're fishing with pellets and you're feeding a middle line like that, always fire it over your line. And then what you do, you fire them when they hit the water, you look at your tip, and if it starts going like that, it tells you that the fish are shorter.
Tommy, if your line goes slack, I'm not talking about all way, if you go slack, do you count that as a bite or do you just gently wind?
No, I'd pick it up because it's more, if it's a bite, it'll have hooked itself and swam towards you. But it surely that happens when it's on a ledge. But it's moved the feeder anyway, so I'd always bring it back. Yeah. But I think they've ate that now. Now then. So I didn't catch one on an orange. So this is how you learn about what colour baits they want. So put a browning on. Pellets are brown, so let's put a browning on. Let's see what happens with that. And this is what you've got to do. Find out, because once you find the right colour, makes a massive difference. An ounce. Yeah, people talk to me about different things. I just put an ounce on. And I do that for experience. Right. What would you do now? Right answer. And you bring it back because, correct. If you don't think there's no, one of the things I've learnt over years is when people do that, they know it's wrong, but they don't bring it back because they almost don't want the mates taking the mick. But you won't get a bite, so bring it back. Don't worry about it. It's got to be right. It's got to hit the water, so that when I like that. I mean, I tried to do it right then, but even that I'm going, oh, I didn't like that. I can't sit there. I just can't. And it will not bad. It won't fire off. But in my head, I just couldn't sit there. And I don't think it makes any difference going in and out, putting bait in. I've got to be able to sit there. I can't waste 10 minutes of my life thinking, oh, it's not right that, but he's going to take Mickey out of me. I've got to do it right. See the difference? You just know you're going to catch a fish. All that fizzing when I find them pellets in. That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't find that many, never. You see how much time I'm taking? Don't bother me, because if I get one, it'll look itself. Just sit there. Pick my catty up. feed your other lines, and you're still fishing. Most people put the rod that way, right? And unless, like if I'm on that peg, next peg there, I'd probably fish my rod this way because I couldn't get it downside with them reeds. But if it's free for both sides, I always fish it this way. I never put it that way. I don't like it across me because you're hemmed in yourself. You can't move, you can't look, you can't pick your flask up because it's across your body. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is it's what I do.
Do you have a problem sinking line when it's windy?
No, it makes no difference whether it's windy or it's flat. Just take your time. In fact, when it's windy, it should sink quicker. Because the thing is, when you cast it and you hit the clip right like that, your line is tight, so you can put it under the water and it should sink pretty quick. But just take your time. Just take your time. It don't, like I said, it don't matter how long it takes.
If you did start getting a bow, would that be time to put a heavier feeder on?
No, if you're getting a bow, what's happening is you're not hitting the clip right. Yeah. You're not straighting. I'll show you next cast what you mean. But don't worry about it. Look at the boiling there, look. Right? Because you'll still get your bite at this style of fishing. All it means is you've hit it wrong and you've let the wind create a blow, a bend. But trust me, providing it goes to the bottom and it landed all right, when you put your rod down, right, underwater, it'll still sink and straighten itself up. And you'll still get your bite, providing everything's happened and worked in the right place. All we really need is a couple of bites now. You can keep throwing questions at me now, lads, if you want. I'll show you in a minute about why I'm feeding this dark middle, because I'm always feeding other lines, and that's to bring fish in. Fish respond to noise. One of the pellets hitting water, they know what they are, they know the sound. So all I'll be doing is feeding me other lines while I'm sat there. To be honest, I can't believe I entered a bite. I thought all these F1s had been pullet rodding. One thing I haven't spoke about, by the way, is hooks and hook size. When I'm tying my hooks and my hook size is, if I'm fishing for carp, this is like most times. If I'm fishing for carp, it's usually a 16 to 016 or 018. Sorry, 15 or 17. But if I'm fishing for F1s, it's liable to be 013. And the reason for that is you can't seem to catch lots of F1s on a big hook. So you've got to scale down, and it'll be an 18 to 013. That's what I call my F1 hook. And if I'm going to be fishing on for carp, it'll be 16 to an 015 or an 017. So them's the hooks I'm going to be using. So I have to decide what I'm doing. So when I come here and it's F1s and carp, it'll be an 18. It'll be an 18 to 013. Because you're fishing for both. You're fishing for both species. So, but when I'm fishing for carp, I don't think it makes that much difference that you can fish a 16 or a 14. Depends on the size of fish that you're going to be using. So, when you're fishing for carp, 16, 14 to 15 and 17-ish line, that's type of line. But when F1s makes a massive difference. It makes a massive difference at the size of the hook when you're fishing for F1s, and usually it's an 18, and you're fishing an 18 to an 013. Sometimes 011. On a bomb, sometimes you have to fish 011. Well, I can't believe this won't go round. Mono me. I don't quite get fluoro. No, I can't. I don't quite understand it. But that's you talk to some anglers, and there's only one instance that anybody's ever shown me where it actually makes a difference. So it's always mono for me. I've always been brought up that with lines, it's about being supple. It's about supple, and when they do that, it comes naturally to them. And I think stiffer the line, it's not going to go natural to them. And and I can't get that out of my head, so I'm always a nylon man, me. So all the time, feeding me other lines. Just want to catch a couple of fish just to show you. All the time I'm feeding me other lines. Preparing that one for last hour. You see, I'm just going to show you something in a bit. See if I can catch a fish on this. Because when I fire them pellets in, my tip goes crazy. Look at that. But I don't think them fish there are on my fire line. I think they're in the middle. You can see them blowing there. So what we're going to do in a minute, we're going to have a chuck on that. Come on, my little beauties. You can see what I'm doing. Look at fizzing there.
How often would you fire your pellets over where your feeder is?
I don't, if I'm, the only time I fire them over there is when I have to. So when you're fishing, even like now, right, I ain't had a fish yet, even though I'm getting lots of liners, but sometimes the fish might not be where I'm fishing. So what you've got to do is sometimes get them there by making a noise. And what I'll do then, I'll just pick some 6s up or some pellets that'll reach, sometimes it's 8s, and I'll fire them over there. And that plop, 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 I think brings them in sometimes. So, and what you've got to do is just fire them like that. See the noise they make? Sometimes that brings them in. But when I get them in, I sometimes stop it. I can't believe I haven't had a bite yet. Yeah, I blame you all lot. But all the time, yeah, it might be as daft as that, honestly.
All that food is dripping out of trees.
I can't believe we haven't caught one. All these F1s in here, we haven't caught one.
So you're saying now you answered the bite?
Yeah.
How long would you leave your feeder before?
This time of year, 5 minutes maximum.
So what distance was that like in winter? Would you leave it longer?
Oh, it might be 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Right, there's two ways of fishing, summer and winter, and it's like chalk and cheese. Summer, you're trying to feed and get the fish to come to you, right, so they're feeding. In winter, it's location. It's a location of fish, because what happens in winter, the fish show up and you've got to find them. I mean, sometimes, you know how many fish are in here, even though I can't catch one. There's trillions. We come in here in winter and can't get a bite. It's crazy. You'll sit there and no happens, and you're trying to find where they are. And once you find them, and once you start getting liners and indications, then you sit there till you get a bite. Because if you pull out and cast enough every 5 minutes, you'll spook them somewhere else. So what you're trying to do is just locate them and work out where the fish are. Well, I cannot believe I haven't had a bite. Now, so what I'm going to do now, right? I'm going to cast where I've been feeding them pellets in the middle. Well, I can't believe that. I thought we'd get pulled in. Right, did you see when I cast them in then, how they're grouped? Because what some people do, they'll fire them in like that, and they go all over the place like that. Well, that's the worst thing you can do. So when you're feeding there, you don't go like that and throw them so they spread. You put them, you cup your fingers like that, so you turn it over, and that's what you're trying to get. Did you see the difference in the noise? It went like that, and that's what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is make that noise to make the fish come. So with catapult, to get that so the land in that little arc is as best you can at distance. The first thing you do is you don't pull it to its maximum. You pull it 3/4 and you lob it up in air. So it does that. So it goes, and that's what brings the fish. It's that attraction. And well, look what the hell's going on here. I thought we'd get pulled in. So what we're going to do now, just something a bit different. And the idea, what you would do on this middle line, you'd either have a bomb set up, or you'd set this under. Let's see if we can get one up middle line. We can go back to the far one. I think all them loose feeders. Now then, you can do two things. You can cast underarm or you can cast overarm. But when I'm going short, like there, if you just get it like that, put it in palm of your hand, like that, and just flick it out like that onto it. Exactly the same though, because what you've got to do is still make it go on that plop. So you've still got to hit the rod dead right. Right, let's see if this works. Doing me head, I can't catch a fish. Oh, he's good. I think we should all go sit and watch him. Now then, what happens now, because you're in open water, I mean look at liners. When you're in open water, what happens, right, is your bites are different. Right, your bites will proper be violent now. It would actually shout, there you go, look. But that what, see differences, I've just picked up, using bended rod, keeping it nice and low, like that, and just wind nice and slow. Look, I'm using bended rod all the time. Let me get my net. I'm coming for you now. One! It is about time, but did you see how quick it was? In fact, I'll take that off and then don't poke anybody in the thing. Now then, it's actually, sometimes it's good that things don't work to how you think. What am I doing? Right, because it means you've got to look for other options, like that. So how long was that in water then? 3 minutes? No, it ain't, just come undone. 3 minutes? But I left it longer over there and had 4 or 5 casts and never had a fish. So, this is why you have to look at other options and keep your options open. There's no fixed rules in fishing. There's only a fixed rule when you start. When you start fishing. At the beginning of the match. When you start fishing, there's no fixed rules. We're not fish. We don't. Listen, there's 2 things in life that, can you put your fingers in your ears a minute? Right? There's 2 things that men don't understand. One's women and one's fish. Right? All the time though, plop. Don't matter where you cast, it's same procedure, plop. Put it on, everything same procedure. Catapult. We don't know where the fish are going to be and feed. That was terrible, that. I was disappointed with that. So it's hands-free. And the thing is, what you find out is they'll be where they want to feed and where they want to be and what depth and distance like that. So I can have a cast here, I'm feeding my line, but I can still go back over there, I'm still clipped up and I can go over there. There you go, look. Now that should tell you something about fish and fishing. They're not always where you, as an angler, think they're going to be. Is that what it was? 4. I'm catching you up now. Oh, yeah. Can't kid a kidder.
initially, would you, as they come off the island now, you've now got onto the pellet line,
Yeah.
then take a couple off that pellet line and then have a go back at the island, or would you just let it settle again?
Right. There's one thing I also never come off feeding fish. Right, so if you're catching, you just keep catching, because if the fish want to be in shallow water, they'll move there. No, remember when I spoke about earlier about feeding depths? The feeding depth is so critical. I mean, I had 4 or 5 casts and never had a bite. And even I were gobsmacked, because I thought I'd just get pulled in. Now I know they're only little F1s, but you just keep catching them. Now if you want, you can change it. Like if it was me, if this was match conditions now, the catch in there, I'd be feeding this, and generally the trouble is I generally want to go to Ireland, because I think I'd catch bigger fish and I'd catch carp, but I'd keep feeding it, not doing no harm, just keep firing some pellets in. Oh. But you see what I mean? I'm feeding, just pick the rod up, use the bend of the rod. I mean, look at fizzing there. Look, I'm using bended rod all the time to play the fish. It's crackers that, isn't it? But as much as I'm experienced and think I know quite a lot about fishing, even I didn't expect that. I thought they'd just pull rod in. I really did. And all of a sudden I've caught 3 in no time. But it's all the same routine. So let's have a chuck across again now. Don't be afraid of asking questions now, lad, just fire them at me.